back. I'm Jay Weidner, and I'm not sure if my guest is here or not. Is Joe Farrell on the line there?
Yep.
All right. Good. They didn't tell me, so I wasn't sure. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be left here alone to explain alchemy and the history of the Nazis all by myself. And I don't think I can do that. As a lot of you know, I did write 2 books on alchemy, at least on one part of alchemy, the timing of alchemy, and how alchemy is timed to certain kinds of events that occur in the fabric of time. But I don't know if anyone alive today has done the research into alchemy, the real alchemy, like Joseph Farrell. And read every one of your books. He's the real thing. He's not your fly-by-night wacko. He really has looked into this, and what he has discovered is really the key that unlocks so much. And lately, I've been going, for the last 2 years, I've been going through the ancient Purana texts from South India, and what we're finding is just incredible. I mean, and I think that what you have found, it really does echo what the most ancient of our texts are saying, which is that we're a much older species than we think, and we come from something that is so much grander and kind of weirder even than we can ever imagine. But more than that, and what intrigues me more, is this kind of dumbing down where no one can understand the essential physics behind both time and space. Right. And I think that's really the thing that I'd like to get to with you eventually. Okay. First, though, let's get to... well, someday I'd like to have you back on to talk about the Giza Death Star because it's so incredible. But I'd like to start tonight with some of your recent research into the Nazis and how they were. It seems to me that the Nazis are really the whole thing was a cover for another operation that was going on under everyone's nose, and this operation is more incredible than anything else. And I wonder what you have to say about that.
Well, I write about the Nazis actually in 5 books, and I'm working on a 6th one right now in that series. But kind of to summarize in a nutshell what the scenario that I lay out is, first of all, I believe and make a case that Nazi Germany's atom bomb program, Jay, I think was probably successful. I think that they may have actually detonated an atom bomb in October of 1944, fully 8 months ahead of the Manhattan Project. Now, this is important because the other component of the scenario that I lay out in these books is that at the end of the war, Martin Bormann, who more or less is really in charge of the day-to-day running of Nazi Germany, managed to see to it that the Soviet bloc and the Western Allied bloc got roughly an equal division of the spoils. And he set up a post-war organization, an organized extraterritorial Nazi state that was headquartered or based largely in South America. Now, as a component of that scenario, and I think tying it into your question here, is that the most highly classified secret weapons project in Nazi Germany, a project called the Bell, is something that Bormann saw to it that post-war Nazi international kept to itself and continued to research and develop after the war. In fact, I make that case in a book called The Nazi International. Now, the reason that this project is so important, and going back to your question, is that this device was designed as a gateway technology in my reading of the data to give the Nazis access to 3 different things. The first was to an energy technology, a kind of a zero-point energy technology that would more or less free Germany from dependence on foreign energy sources and therefore from dependence on an essentially Anglo-American corporate elite. The second thing they're pursuing with this technology is that they are interested in developing some sort of advanced field propulsion, or if you prefer, anti-gravity type of technology. And the third thing, of course, that they're after with this technology is that they, by attempting to directly engineer the local properties of space-time itself, which is exactly what they're trying to do with this device, if you weaponize that sort of physics, if you weaponize that sort of technology, you have a technology that would make a hydrogen bomb look like a firecracker. And it's thus truly the ultimate planet-busting doomsday weapon, and that's another thing they're after. So they classify this Bell project actually much higher than their atom bomb project, which again I argue was a successful project. So in terms of what the hidden agenda, to answer your question, really was in terms of the Nazi Party and what it was after during the Second World War with all of its SS-sponsored archaeological expeditions and collecting ancient texts and so on and so forth, I think what they were after was to reconstruct this very sophisticated and, if you prefer, alchemical physics that seems to be indicated in these ancient texts. I think this is exactly the hidden agenda that you find with the Nazis.
I completely agree. In fact, there's so many trails that I took down in my research that ended up in South America with Nazis, that I actually started getting worried after a while, and I wasn't studying Nazi weapons, I was studying alchemy.
Yeah,
and,
I know.
And it was leading me, to the oh yeah, you can find that book, yeah, some little town outside Buenos Aires, there's someone, and I'm like, what? And it just went on, and I started getting kind of, freaked out, and then I remember Jacques Vallée's books, one of them, I can't remember which one, talked about how many UFO sightings, like over half, I think, of all UFO sightings are in South America.
That's right.
Argentina or Chile and with UFO into Google, my God, you'll get, especially if you can speak Spanish, you'll get literally hundreds of thousands of UFO sightings over the last 40 or 50 years. And I think it's interesting because what they did was they transferred the project over to the Andes, and I don't know. I wonder if they were doing it underground, and because there's a lot of rumors. I've been to Peru and Chile and Argentina, and there's a lot of rumors in those mountains about
I know.
Sounds coming from underground,
and about Nazis and so on and so forth. I think I don't really speculate on any of that in my books.
Yeah.
However, I will do so here because in the Nazi International, I outline this post-war project that the Nazis had going in Argentina, which it is very evident that they themselves shut it down after the world press began to focus on it. And they moved it elsewhere. And in my opinion, probably what happened was that these Nazis, because of their archaeological expeditions before the war, had become familiar with this vast tunnel system that most people are aware of that exists throughout the Andes Mountains in South America, and that they simply probably moved this project to safer and more secure places where they could continue the research, which I'm fairly certain that they did. So yeah, I think your speculation there is right on target.